Get back to our top story of the night, and that's the federal investigation of that potential bribery for presidential pardon scheme. It is an ongoing investigation. We now know the information comes from that unsealed document I mentioned just a short time ago. Tom Winter's with us now, been digging into this story since the news broke. This document heavily redacted, but could you give us some context? It's not as if a few accusations could launch such a thing. This is much more than that.
That's perfectly put, Shep, and I think that this document indicates that there is an investigation that is not only ongoing, as you suggested, but is fairly robust at this point. Specifically, we know that several terabytes of data have been recovered from at least 50 digital devices, including iPhones, iPads, laptops, computers, external hard drives, and thumb drives. As part of a physical search of at least 2 office locations, we can glean that from some of the information that's contained within this opinion and order, which is tied to a search warrant in what federal prosecutors can receive. They also have email communications, which, according to the documents, and I'm just reading from them, indicate that there was criminal activity, including a secret lobbying scheme in which 2 redacted individuals acted as lobbyists to senior White House officials without complying with the registration requirements laid out for potential lobbyists. There was also another potential scheme, a related bribery conspiracy scheme, in which the judge says a redacted person would offer a substantial political contribution in exchange for a presidential pardon or reprieve of a sentence. Now, the reason why we know about this is that there was some sort of a legal dispute at some point in this, and we don't have all the details because it's the only document that we have, whereby federal prosecutors were trying to look at communications involving at least one attorney. And we know from some of the filings here that at least one attorney was involved in this, the judge ultimately determining, Shep, if you were my attorney, you and I could have privileged communications between us. But if I try to use you as a shield to communicate with another individual to commit a crime, it's called the crime fraud exception, is part of this. Basically, at that point, our communications would be able to be looked at by prosecutors because you weren't acting as my attorney. You were acting as somebody that would let me continue to commit crimes. So that's something that's come up before. We saw that in the Michael Cohen investigation for folks that are familiar with that. So this appears to be yet another instance where some sort of an attorney is involved here, a judge making a determination that prosecutors would be able to look at these communications or would be able to look at this evidence that was seized. It indicates to me that they were able to get a search warrant here, that there's a lot of probable cause, and this investigation not only is ongoing, but as I said, is likely quite robust.
Tom Winter, fascinating development and an ongoing investigation. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.